Today I will show you my method of finding the right stitch size for this acrylic yarn. I have threaded the machine, the racking handle is down and I'm raising around 30 needles for the test. Place the edge springs on the last working needles, then raise the opposite needles. You must observe the needle rule. We will make a racking cast on because it's the easiest one. Set the front lock to N. I know that the perfect stitch size for this yarn is 5, but in most cases it would be between 3 and 5. I will set the stitch size on both locks to 3. When you are making a racking cast on, you have to set the machine to the stitch size for the main knitting. Now insert the orange strippers and take the yarn. Rotate the racking handle one full turn anti-clockwise and knit one row. Now rotate the racking handle one full turn clockwise and look at the needles. The needles on the front bed are moving. This means the yarn is too tight and you won't be able to knit the second row. Let's check if we can knit the second row. The stitch size needs to be higher than 3. It's too hard to move the lock, so we need to start all over again. I will clear the row counter and I will set the stitch size to 5 on both locks. Insert the orange strippers, rotate the racking handle one full turn anti-clockwise and knit one row. Now rotate the racking handle one full turn clockwise and look at the needles. They are not moving this time, that means we are close to the right stitch size. The yarn loops are not too tight. Let's try to knit the second row. Now we have to fine-tune the stitch size. At first, continue knitting without changing the settings on the locks and notice how the lock is sliding. After knitting 10 rows, you may try to increase or decrease the stitch size by 1 or 2 clicks. Then knit another 10 rows. Is the lock easier to push now? In my case it gets harder, so I will try to decrease the stitch size by 2 clicks. Now test the movement of the lock again. If you increase the stitch size more than you need for the yarn and you don't use the blue strippers or weights to pull the knitting down, it will be hard to move the lock. So I found that the best stitch size for this yarn is 5. I like to make the racking cast on with stitch size 2 clicks tighter from the stitch size for the main knitting. Don't forget that we are knitting using both beds. If you want to knit a stockinette stitch on one of the beds, the stitch size will be bigger with at least one number. Another thing that we can figure out is the stitch size for making a tubular cast on. Since the stitch size for the main knitting is 5, the graduation for the tubular cast on will go like 3 for the first row, then 4 for the CX rows and 5 for the last row. Now let's inspect our test piece. This is the cast on. It is a bit loose and that's why I like to set the stitch size 2 clicks tighter than the stitch size for the main knitting. You may use the single prong tool and transfer some stitches to mark the stitch size directly on the test swatch, or you can knit several different test swatches using only one stitch size setting for each one of them. Then you can wash them, iron them and see how the yarn behaves. Tell me, how did you find the right stitch size for your yarn? Thank you for watching, have a nice day and see you in my next video.